accusing you of being a killer, you know?
Most definitely, most definitely. I mean, everybody got accused. Jesus got accused, you know? Just a testimony of my life, you know what I'm saying?
You took my sister. You took somebody who we will never wake up to again, somebody that her kids won't see. It's not about us adults. It's about her. He was controlling her, my understanding. He was controlling.
The little girl walked down the street with no shoes. Her clothes were dirty. Her face looked tired. She didn't cry. She didn't look scared. She just walked alone. A woman nearby saw her and came closer. The girl looked up and said something. Soft. "Mommy's sleeping." The woman followed her back to the house. The door was open. Inside it was cold and dark. Trash was everywhere. 4 small children sat on the floor. No lights, no food, no sound. Their mother was on the mattress. She wasn't moving. She had no clothes on. Her stomach was big. She was pregnant. There was blood on her skin, her arms, her legs, her belly. Her body was covered in bruises. She had been hurt many times. She was only 24 years old, and her children had seen everything. La'Diamond Meyers was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, a city where dreams often come second to survival. She wasn't rich. She didn't grow up with everything she needed. But she was a girl who smiled easily, loved deeply, and cared more about family than anything else in the world. People who knew her said she was quiet but kind, soft-hearted, the kind of girl who would give away her last plate of food if she thought someone else was hungrier. She wasn't chasing fame. She wasn't trying to become a doctor or a businesswoman. What La'Diamond wanted, more than anything, was to be a mother. That was her dream. While other girls her age were thinking about college and new careers, La'Diamond was picking out baby names. She didn't see motherhood as a burden. She saw it as her purpose. She believed being a good mom could give her the kind of love and stability she never really had growing up. And for a while, that belief kept her going. By the time she was just a teenager, she had already given birth to her first child, then her second. And though it wasn't easy, though her world was already heavy with stress and responsibility, she didn't give up. She still finished high school. She walked across the graduation stage in 2013, young and proud, while her family clapped from the crowd. That day was supposed to be the start of something better, but real life came hard and fast. La'Diamond had no stable job, no real savings, no steady partner to help her raise 2 babies. Detroit streets weren't safe. Rent was too high. Support was hard to find, and the world wasn't built to catch girls like her when they started to fall. Soon, she met a man named Willie Wilborn. He wasn't a good man, but he was there. He had charm, just enough to hide the truth. Willie didn't have a future planned. He worked at a small pizza place, selling slices for $1. He didn't have a car, didn't have his own home. He barely made enough to feed himself, let alone a family. But La'Diamond gave him a chance. By 2015, she had her 3rd child, this time with Willie. Then came a 4th in 2016. All before her 22nd birthday, she was now a mother of 4. Still barely an adult herself. She lived with her own mother in a small, overcrowded apartment, clothes stacked in corners, cribs squeezed into every open space, one baby crying while another needed feeding. No quiet, no rest, no break. But La'Diamond kept pushing. She smiled in pictures with her children. She braided their hair. She kept their clothes clean when she could. She made sure birthdays felt special, even when money was tight. She tried to give them the kind of life she wished she had, but love wasn't enough. The more children she had, the more trapped she became. Childcare for 4 kids was impossible. She couldn't go to work. She couldn't go to school. Her food stamps ran out fast. The government help barely kept the lights on. And Willie, he didn't help, not with money, not with time, not with love. What he brought into the home was something else entirely: control, anger, and fear. La'Diamond's family noticed the change. Her joy started to fade. She became quieter, nervous. She showed up with bruises but explained them away. Her mother worried. Her sisters asked questions. Police were called more than once. So was Child Protective Services. But when the bruises weren't fresh and the words weren't loud, nothing changed. She was scared, but stuck. Willie had a past. Court records later showed he was a convicted sex offender. That wasn't a rumor. It wasn't gossip. It was a fact. He wasn't just a bad boyfriend. He was dangerous. Still, he stayed close. Still, she let him in. Because sometimes, when you're poor and young and tired and alone, even the wrong person feels better than no one at all. And when there's no room in shelters, when family is struggling too, when you're raising 4 babies with no help, you start to believe that survival is all you can ask for. So she stayed, not because she was weak, but because the world made it almost impossible for her to leave. And that's where her story turned from struggle to tragedy. Willie Wilborn didn't look dangerous at first. He didn't wear a mask or carry a knife. He had a smile. He told jokes. He knew how to talk just sweet enough to be liked, just quiet enough to seem safe. But Willie had a record, a public one. He was a registered sex offender. He had been found guilty of criminal sexual conduct. That wasn't a secret. It was written in court papers, locked in files that anyone could find. But La'Diamond didn't see those files. She saw the man standing in front of her, acting kind, calling her beautiful, saying all the things she needed to hear after too many days of feeling invisible. Willie worked part-time at a pizza place that sold dollar slices. He made just enough money to keep his prepaid phone on. Sometimes, if he skipped lunch, he could buy diapers. But that was it. He didn't have his own apartment. He didn't have a car. He didn't even have a plan. Still, he had La'Diamond. He slipped into her life slowly, like a shadow stretching across the floor. At first, he stayed over once in a while, then more often, then all the time. He didn't bring anything with him. No food, no furniture, no money, just his presence. And soon it became heavy. He was controlling. He wanted to know where she was, who she talked to, how she dressed. If she left the house, he got angry. If she smiled too long at someone else, he got quiet. And if she talked back, he got loud. Sometimes his anger was sharp, sometimes it was slow. But it always left her feeling smaller. He didn't hit her every day. He didn't scream every night. That's not how abuse always works. Sometimes it's in the way a man makes you question your own mind. Sometimes it's in how he makes you feel lucky to be chosen, just before he makes you feel worthless again. He didn't build her up. He broke her down. And each time she tried to pull away, he found a new way to come back. Apologies, promises, tears. He said he would change, that he was trying, that he loved her. But love that uses fear is not love at all. Willie became a part of her world in the worst way. He brought nothing, but still took everything. He didn't feed the kids. He didn't clean. He didn't help with bills. He was, in every way, a weight she carried, and yet she stayed, because he had mixed just enough charm with control to make her hope again. And when you're drowning in stress, pain, and poverty, sometimes even a false hope feels better than none. But he wasn't her lifeline. He was a parasite, feeding off her kindness, feeding off her struggle, feeding off her love, until there was almost nothing left of her. Her family saw it. They worried, they warned her, they begged her to leave. But it's not that simple. When someone breaks you slowly, piece by piece, it's hard to see just how far you've fallen. And when every day feels like survival, you stop dreaming of escape. You just pray you can make it to tomorrow. But one day, tomorrow didn't come. La'Diamond was just one person, but she carried 5 little lives on her back. 5 children, all under the age of 6. She woke up to cries. She went to bed in silence, only to start again the next day with bottles, diapers, and tears. Some days she was lucky to eat once. Some days she didn't eat at all so the kids could. They all lived in a small apartment with her mother. A two-bedroom space packed with cribs, clothes and noise, toys in the corners, laundry in piles. The hallway echoed with little footsteps and tired sighs. There was never enough space, never enough food, never enough time. Her mother helped. She did what she could. But one paycheck couldn't stretch wide enough for a house full of growing mouths. The fridge was often near empty. The rent always a week behind. La'Diamond applied for food stamps. She received WIC. She stood in long lines at offices that promised help but delivered only delays. The assistance came but never enough. Diapers ran out too fast. Formula cost too much. Bills didn't wait, and the stress, it never left. Then there was Willie, still there, still taking up space, but never giving back. He didn't work full-time. He didn't support the children, and now his anger was louder. His fists came quicker. The fear in that apartment grew with every day he stayed. La'Diamond's family began to notice new bruises. The quiet got heavier. Her voice sounded smaller. Police were called. More than once, Child Protective Services showed up, but every time they left, the problem stayed. There were no empty shelters willing to take a young mother with 5 kids. Friends wanted to help, but no one had room for 6 people. There was nowhere safe to go. And the violence didn't stop, so she made a desperate choice. She left her mother's house and moved into an abandoned building in Detroit. A broken house. No heat, no water, no working locks, no beds, just dirty walls, broken windows, and silence. She was squatting there. Just her, the kids, and the cold. The children slept on blankets over wooden floors. Rats ran across the rooms at night. Roaches filled the corners. The wind slipped through the cracks. The cold stung their skin. It was not a home. It was barely shelter. But it was all she had. Neighbors saw the kids playing outside. They saw the empty house. They knew no one should be living there, but they also knew what calling the system might do. Children taken, a mother punished. So they said nothing. And inside, La'Diamond tried her best to make it work. She warmed food on a hot plate. She held her babies close at night. She kept telling herself things would get better, that this was only temporary, but things didn't get better. They got worse. And that house, the one that offered no safety, no future, and no peace, became her last address. 1 week after La'Diamond's body was found, Willie Wilborn was arrested. He didn't run far. He didn't hide. He was still in the city, moving from place to place, staying quiet while the world tried to make sense of what had happened. The police took him in. The charge was first-degree murder. For a moment, there was hope. La'Diamond's family breathed. For the first time in days, her mother wept in silence. Her sisters held each other tightly. The man they had feared, the man they believed had beaten, stabbed, and left her to die, was finally behind bars. But justice has a strange way of disappearing when it's needed most. On July 28, 2018, just 1 month later, the courtroom went still. The case was called, the evidence was reviewed, and then it was dismissed. Judge Kenneth King said the words that would break the family all over again. There wasn't enough, not enough evidence to hold him, not enough proof to bring him to trial, not enough to even make him explain. Willie walked out of that courtroom a free man. The reason? The police hadn't done enough. They never collected Willie's clothes the night of the murder. They didn't test for blood. They didn't search the places he went right after the killing. They didn't speak to the friend who let him shower just hours later. No DNA was gathered, no fingerprints, no strong case built. The prosecution stood in court with empty hands, no witnesses, no hard proof. Just the silence of children too young to testify and a body that told the truth, but not in a way the court would accept. The courtroom shook with cries. La'Diamond's family screamed in pain. Her sister collapsed. Her mother shouted. The hurt was loud, the anger louder. This wasn't just a legal failure, it was a personal one. They had begged for help before. They had warned the police. They had called Child Protective Services. They had tried everything. And now, even in death, La'Diamond was still being let down. A woman with 112 injuries had been found dead on a dirty mattress, and the system still couldn't say who was responsible. It was like her life didn't matter, and the man they believed had taken it, who had lived in that same house, who had controlled her, hurt her, and watched those children grow, walked away without even a trial. Outside the courthouse, no one spoke for a long time, because how do you explain to a grieving mother that the man she believes killed her daughter doesn't have to answer for it? How do you tell children who saw their mother stop breathing that there's nothing more the law can do? How do you sit with a truth that feels this unfair? For La'Diamond's family, that day was not justice, it was betrayal. And once again, they were left to pick up the pieces alone.
He killed my niece! He killed me, Your Honor! He killed me, oh my God!
Emotions boiling over just moments ago inside this courtroom, Judge Kenneth King says there is not enough evidence to bind over Willie Wilborn for trial in one of the most horrific murder cases in recent memory.
There is insufficient evidence to bind over on a first-degree murder.
La'Diamond Meyers' body found naked in one room, 4 of her kids left in another room in late June in a vacant home on Braile in Detroit. What's clear, Meyers was murdered in the most brutal of ways.
There were over 112 different healing injuries on her body.
Family members couldn't bear hearing such awful details that Meyers was beat with fists.
It was Halloween night in 2019. A man stood inside a gas station on Grand River Avenue in Detroit. He was waiting in line. The place was quiet. Then the door opened. A man wearing a clown mask walked in. No warning. No argument, one bullet, shot point blank in the back of the head. The man dropped instantly. He didn't speak. He didn't breathe. He didn't move again. His name was Willie Wilborn. The same man who had once been accused of beating and stabbing. La'Diamond Meyers. The same man who walked free after her murder case was dismissed. The same man who had filed for custody of 2 of her children after her death. Now, he was gone. The shooter was a 19-year-old named Draven Jones. He was later arrested and charged with first-degree murder. But nobody lit candles for Willie. No crowds gathered to mourn him. No online memorials. No GoFundMe. No speeches. Just a quiet gasp, a collective exhale. No one celebrated his death. But no one cried either. The streets didn't forget what happened. To La'Diamond, they just remembered that justice never came. And now, suddenly, Willie was gone too. Some called it fate. Others called it karma. But everyone knew one thing for sure. He would never hurt anyone again. After the noise faded, only the children remained. 4 small kids. One unborn never had a chance. Their mother was gone. Their father, the one they had last seen standing over her, was dead too. They moved in with their grandmother, a small house, quiet now, but the pain didn't stay outside. It followed them in. The oldest child, barely 6, began to draw things no child should ever imagine. Pictures of his mother, lying still, with marks all over her, red crayons smeared across paper like blood. He didn't know how to say what he saw, so he drew it instead. He had sat beside her body for days. He had tried to wake her up. He had listened to his little siblings ask why Mommy wasn't moving. And now, even though he was safe, he wasn't okay. None of them were. The trauma lived inside. Their tiny bodies, in their minds, in their sleep, in the way they watched doors too carefully, in the way they flinched at loud sounds, in the way they stopped asking questions because they already knew the answers hurt too much. Their uncle spoke out. No child should carry that kind of truth into adulthood, he said. And he was right. A child's world should be filled with cartoons, hugs, and bedtime stories. Not bruises, blood, and silent tears. Experts would later explain it. What happens when young children witness violence? The fear never leaves. The brain rewires. The heart grows heavy too early. Without help, that pain stays with them for life. It shows up in school, in friendships, in trust, in love. The children needed more than food. They needed healing. They needed therapy, stability, safety, years of protection to undo what had already been done. And even then, the scars might never fade, because no child walks away from that kind of darkness untouched. La'Diamond's story is not the only one. Like this, there are more girls like her, too many. Girls who grow up dreaming of love and family, only to find themselves raising children in broken homes with men who don't know how to love them back. Girls who smile in pictures, keep their pain quiet, and hope that things will get better even when all signs point to worse. She lived in Detroit, but her story lives in every city. In shelters where women wait for rooms that never open. In courtrooms, where cases are dismissed because bruises faded too soon. In homes where babies sleep on floors, and mothers stay silent because they're afraid of what will happen if they speak, or what might happen if they don't. The system was never made for girls like La'Diamond. It watches but doesn't act fast enough. It blames but doesn't protect. It labels poor black mothers as careless but gives them no help when they ask. It talks about justice but forgets to deliver it when it matters most. La'Diamond made mistakes. That's true. She had children too young. She stayed with a man who broke her spirit. She hoped when maybe she should have left. But her biggest mistake wasn't trusting Willie. It was believing she'd be okay in a world that doesn't take care of women like her. She wanted love, safety, a home for her kids. Instead, she got silence, bruises, and an empty mattress in a cold house. People say love should save you. But for La'Diamond, love is what killed her. And still, when her name is spoken, it should not be with pity. It should be with power. Because what happened to her wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a warning to the girls who think pain means passion, to the mothers who carry everything but get nothing back, to the systems that look away when a woman is crying for help, to all of us who see the signs but say nothing. The truth is simple. Children need more than hugs. Women need more than promises. Love is not enough. And silence never saves anyone. La'Diamond Meyers is gone. Her children are growing up without a mother. Their first memories are filled with sounds no child should hear, crying, yelling, silence. The kind of silence that follows after someone takes their last breath. They will live with those memories forever. Her mother is still trying to be strong. Raising children when you've just buried your own child is a different kind of pain. She is doing her best. But some nights, when the house is quiet, she still wonders what more she could have done, what signs she missed, what help she could have given if she just had more time, more space, more strength. People call it a tragedy. But it wasn't just that. This didn't happen by chance. It happened because too many things failed at once. Family, law enforcement, housing, healthcare, justice. Every piece that was supposed to protect La'Diamond left her exposed, alone, afraid, and eventually dead. And this is not just her story. This is the story of every woman who hides bruises with makeup, of every mother who stays with a man because she has no other place to go, of every child who draws pictures of pain because they don't have the words to explain what they've seen. We can't forget La'Diamond, not just because she died, but because she tried, she fought, she loved. She gave her children everything she had, even when she had nothing left for herself. This is a warning. Don't stay with someone who makes you feel small. Don't trust a man who only brings pain. Don't raise babies in a place where you don't. Feel safe, and to the world, stop judging women like La'Diamond when you've never walked in their shoes. Help them, protect them, believe them. Because if we don't, this will happen again and again and again. Let La'Diamond rest now. Let her children find peace, and let the rest of us carry the lesson she left behind, not just in words, but in action.